So let's get into our topic of the day here is pellet stoves, and we have an expert in this, Larry Berg from the Fire Factory. Larry is the owner of two companies, actually, that are kind of intertwined, we'll say, right?
Yeah.
So the Fire Factory is fireplaces, pellet stoves, outdoor grills, fire pits, all that kind of stuff, right?
Correct.
And the Chimney Concepts is the other company, and that's chimney repair, chimney cleaning, chimney inspections, chimney construction, right?
You got it, Matt.
Yeah. And the Fire Factory, if you're interested in what they have to offer, you want to go check out. They do have a showroom, and that's out on Highway 33 in Port Washington. I had the hours here: 9 to 5 during the week, 10 to 2 on Saturdays. And they have lots of different examples and stuff. Obviously, they don't probably have all of the examples of stuff that you guys offer up there, right?
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, it's a pretty big showroom, but yeah, we're always adding more.
Yeah, well, there's always new stuff coming out.
Fill the space.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a big space. From I saw it online or whatever, it looks like it's a big, huge showroom.
Yeah, we're around 7,000 square feet.
That's big, man. Cool. And then as far as their operating area, Ozaukee, Washington, Milwaukee, Waukesha, Southern Sheboygan County. That's just your general operating area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you're looking for services in those areas, as far as any type of wood stove, fireplaces, all that kind of stuff, give them a jingle. Phone numbers, the phone number for Fire Factory and Chimney Concepts are up on our website. If you go to our website, thehelpfulhomeinspector.com, we do have information in there about the Fire Factory and Chimney Concepts, and you can get their phone numbers and email addresses and websites and all that kind of stuff there if you'd like. Now, as far as the Chimney Concepts was the original business, right?
Yeah, that's what. We started doing chimney repair and cleanings, maintenance.
Sure.
Yep.
And was that your background where you came from? Or did you
Yeah, I mean,
you don't just start a chimney cleaning business, right?
Yeah, after college. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Basically, it started off doing is my job after high school. My dad and my grandfather were both in masonry, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
And
then Fire Factory
from there
grows out of that.
Yeah,
right?
You do chimney repair, and then my main thought was, hey, I want to do something that people really are really looking at and appreciating. Sure. So I went to fireplaces, and then the store came about, and yeah.
Well, and the guys
goes from there.
The guys that you have fixing chimneys and stuff, the chimneys and fireplaces are so intertwined that they probably already knew a lot about all this stuff. So it just was a natural movement over. So
yeah.
Very cool. And then let's see, as far as the fire management systems, like pellet stoves, fireplaces, whatever, however you're managing fire in your home or outside your home, what's the most common one that you guys sell?
Definitely gas.
Gas fireplace.
And that depends on the area that you're in. We are, somewhat close to Milwaukee here, so generally the more urban you are, you're going to be doing a lot of gas. Mm-hmm. As you get a little bit more rural, you're going to be doing more wood and alternatives.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely gas. However, the last few years, last couple of years, I should say, wood burning has become very, very popular.
Getting back into it.
Yeah, getting back into it.
Yeah.
Your inserts too. I mean, wood burning inserts they're monsters.
Yeah.
The BTUs off of those things are crazy.
Yeah. Doing a lot of inserts, a lot of retrofitting. Yeah. Whether it's gas or wood.
Sure. Now, when it comes to the gas fireplaces, does it make a difference if they're on propane?
For function?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. People tend to go to alternatives if they're on propane.
Yeah,
because of the expense.
It up more frequently. Yeah.
But no, they're it's simple conversion, just like your grills.
Yeah, grills and fire and furnaces too.
Right,
easy conversion there.
Yep.
All right, so get into pellet stoves. One of the things that we got to talk about and explain to some people that have never had a pellet stove before, never seen one before, what exactly is a pellet stove? Bob's got two of them in his house, right? We
started with one in the basement, probably 28 to 30 years.
And that's a standalone, right?
And that was a standalone, yeah. But that one, and we got that from Earth's Earth Sense,
Mm-hmm.
which is up in the Appleton area up there. And that one burned corn.
Yeah,
We
so
burned corn for a while.
Bob's had a pellet stove a lot longer than I have, so.
Yeah.
And generally they started burning with corn if that's what was around. But generally a pellet stove is something you're gonna put fuel into a hopper, and it is going to then feed that fuel, depending on what setting you have it at, a certain amount of pounds per hour, basically.
Down into like a little burn chamber. You can see they got one there. This is our live feed up here.
So you have an auger system that's feeding this fuel, and it's gonna some of the newer ones are bottom feed. The one I have is a top feed, so it drops it down into the pot.
So bottom feed would have to have a conveyor to get it up, right?
Yeah, and generally, it's just an auger system. So it's a large screw type system that's gonna, grab this fuel, and it's going to drop it in, depending on what your setting's at.
As far as high, medium, low, number of pellets in is more heat out.
Right. Yeah. So you're generally burning between 1 and 5 pounds per hour, I would say.
And you have to mix in oxygen, of course, right?
Yep.
So there's got to be some kind of blower, because like yours is sealed, right?
Well, they're all sealed. Yeah. When you open them up, they're not made to be open and run.
Right. So they're basically, you're going to have the air intake, usually on the back of the unit.
Yeah.
You can either hook that up directly to the outside, or you can use your house air, and you'll have a little damper on that usually that you can open and close.
Oh, control how much air goes in? Okay.
Yeah. In my house, I have it just pulling from the house. Some people pull it
I've
from
always
outside.
done that.
Now
I've always done
that does affect efficiency, though, because now your furnace that you have in your home, you're using some of that heated air that you made for combustion, right?
A little bit. However, sometimes we've seen more problems with outside air than
Because of the temperatures.
inside air. Temperatures, condensation, things like that.
Well, and it's going to do that. It's not going to affect it as much as, say, like a wood fireplace where it's just
we're talking about smaller, much smaller amounts of air needed for these pellet stoves or a sealed wood stove than you do for an open fireplace.
For sure. Sure. Yeah, because like a general wood fireplace, I'm like, have it for ambiance. Don't have it for saving money, because otherwise you're just sucking all your furnace air out,
Exactly.
and your furnaces turn on and operate more, And people think that, well, I'm going to heat my house with this wood fireplace. I'm like, well, it doesn't necessarily work that way, unless it's like the fall or something where you're not running your furnace. Then, hey, draw all the air you want, but... Yeah. Now, as far as pellets go, pellets basically are a compressed wood product, generally sawdust and stuff, high pressure, put them together into these little, about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch long, about a 1/4 of an inch in diameter, and you can get them in all different kinds of woods, right? Now, Bob talked about running corn. You can run alternative fuels, but how does that affect like its function and cleaning and that kind of stuff? When you switch over to corn, it's going to be dirtier probably, right?
Well, you're burning a fuel that has usually a little bit more moisture in it. It's got to be dried. It's got to be a certain type of corn. And you can end up with more of a what we call clinkers. So the product building up its byproduct in the pot.
Sure.
Corn's a little bit trickier. So you want to, it's always got to be moving or remove.
Right.
That.
The stove I had years ago had an auger inside the pot that turned real slow, and the pot was curved on the bottom. So when it came down, it'd break that clinker of corn up.
Yeah.
But the bad thing about the corn was the mice.
Oh, okay.
So, and we didn't realize that, early young couple, we didn't know. We bought corn, and before we knew it, we had, more mice than we had corn.
Sure. Yeah. Now, you're solely heating your home with the pellet stoves.
I have all electric heat, but we don't really use it. We use just the pellets. Yep.
Yeah. And with that, how many bags do you go?
We buy 8 tons of pellets every year, and we keep 40-pound bags. So we put 3 tons in the garage, and we'll put 5 tons in the basement. Oof. And it's just it's a ritual.
How do you get that down there?
I've created a door in my garage, and we're able to slide the pellets down and right into the storage area.
Sure. Holy cow! So a lot of pellets, man.
A lot of pellets.
Yeah.
That
It
is a
keeps
lot.
you busy.
How much
Yeah.
is that? I mean, you got to know how much that costs because you're buying it all at once, right?
Yeah, and I think right now you're looking at ranging $250 to maybe $300 a ton.
Okay.
So 8 ton.
$4 to $6, $4 to $8 a bag.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
quite as much as that. I
Yeah,
don't
4
think.
to 6.
I'd have to talk to the boss about that.
Yeah. Is there a difference between a standalone system and a pellet stove insert? I mean, operation-wise, it's the same, right? Does the back of your standalone one get hot that you could have air movement around it? versus the insert
That's a
that's
luxury of pellet stoves. I mean, there's no heat on the sides, the back, the top, just the front. The door is what gets warm. So
Yeah.
that's what's nice about it.
Yeah, and as freestanding unit, there is going to be a good convection system there.
Yeah.
As opposed to an insert.
Yeah.
An insert is going to kind of have to force that air, or
into
just
the
through
space?
the unit itself, where your freestanding unit is going to, because you have that natural heat coming off of it,
You can
you're
naturally
going to
move around
kind
it.
of pull some
Yeah.
of that air.
Kind of like if you had a radiator system or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And with that, one of the key to not having cold and hot spots is probably air movement, right, in the room. So having a ceiling fan running
Ceiling
on
fans,
low or
yep.
something like that, just circulating the heat around. Otherwise, like people that have boiler have boiler and registers that never had them before, they're like, man, the far side of my daughter's room is always cold. I'm like, yeah, you need to get a ceiling fan. And the other side is really hot, right? She's like, well, yeah, it's behind the bed. I'm like, well, okay, so you can't cover it up, and you need to have good air movement around it, or else you're not going to transfer that heat to different parts of the room and stuff. So boilers can be great, and registers and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have that air movement, just like with a pellet stove and
And the right air
insert.
movement too. I mean, ceiling
Yeah.
fans are great, but winter up, summer down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
What about those? I know you use them. Those little heat generated fans that don't use any power. That basically just
Right,
heat.
and for pellet stoves, won't work because you
Doesn't
need
work.
that heat,
Oh, 'cause
that
pellet- it doesn't
massive
hot.
heat from the top of a wood burning stove
Yeah.
to make those fans work.
So
So,
those fans would not work on a pellet stove.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they don't
wouldn't
work. They're going to maybe spin a little bit, but
Yeah,
the
need a
heat
lot
that
of
you get on the top of the pellet stove is not
Yeah,
much.
that's
You're
more for like a potbelly stove in a shack up north for a
Right.
deer hunt or
Right.
something like that. Yeah. All right. And so as far as the pellet stove goes, we'll talk a little bit about the cost here. So when we talk about just purchasing the stove, okay, that's a set cost. You know what that stove costs. What are we talking about range wise?
Range-wise, I would say the stove itself anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 in our store.
Yeah, 5,000. That's good. Is that because of quality or is it because of size?
Quality.
or-
I mean, you could do a cast iron model, which is gonna it's gonna have an aesthetic value to it.
Sure.
You may do an enamel finish on it. Larger stoves typically more
Yeah.
than the smaller stoves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then installation is always difficult to estimate because the customer has so many opinions and differences and options. And I mean, whether it's a face stone or if it's, a lot of different options, I would imagine, as far as the installation of everything around it. So that's kind of hard to estimate. But overall, said and done, I mean, to get a pellet stove in your home, low end.
Low end 3,500, I would probably say.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they have a existing fireplace, putting that insert in, lots of times they are similar sizes and you just have to face them off, right?
Yeah. So an insert probably in the $4,000 to $4,500 range, going up to $6,000.
Yeah. Cool.
because you still have a chimney, obviously,
Yep.
and you're still going to run a separate pipe for that pellet stove.
That's
Up that chimney, 4 inch.
Yes, if you're smart. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it'll work without it, but it'll work more efficiently with a pipe.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're going to run it straight through the wall,
Yeah.
a freestanding.
And
Yeah,
if you size the pipe appropriately, not only is it going to be more efficient, but now it's going to operate better. You're going to have less risk of carbon monoxide and all that kinds of stuff, right?
yeah, less soot, less buildup. Better draft is gonna affect the performance of the stove. But in general, a pellet stove is an easy way to go as far as venting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason I have one
Yeah.
actually in my house
Sure.
is because I couldn't do a wood stove.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get that pipe out. So my pellet stove is the venting is going along the left side of it, and then under the stairs to the basement to the basement.
Sure.
And then out of the sidewall.
Yeah.
Because it's a small
Instead of
vent
trying
and
to go all the way
it's
up
a
through it.
forced
Yeah.
forced system, so
Yeah, very cool.
a lot easier.
Yeah. And then as far as maintenance goes, what are we? I mean, it is we are burning a wood product, so there's going to be a creosote buildup, right?
No,
Don't you love the maintenance?
there's no creosote buildup.
There's not going to
There's
be
no
any.
real smoke to speak of that comes off of those stoves. It's mostly just moist, hot air. So
But in your
creosote,
chimney yourself, you do have soot.
yeah, you have soot, but you don't have
Yeah.
creosote.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you'll have that fine ash.
Yeah.
When a pellet burns, it only takes a minute for that pellet to burn from start to finish. And usually, if the stove is vented right and working properly, it's a white ash.
Okay.
So it's not like wood soot.
So it burns
fireplace.
so thoroughly that it's not going to leave any of the creosote residue on the. To me,
On the inside of the pipes, it will.
it will leave some creosote on
Yeah.
the inside of
Not-
the exhaust.
Not,
When we're talking about creosote and soot, we're talking about fly ash, and we're
Mhm.
talking about, so I mean, in general, yes, like Bob says, this is going to be a powdery
Sure.
substance.
Sure.
Not glazed creosote that you typically find when you're
Right.
burning improperly or you have poor draft.
Yeah.
So
Or burning a bunch of pine or
Right.
whatever else. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Life expectancy of a pellet stove. I mean, you've had yours for how long?
I've been going, well, I have two, are both, and I guess I could say a quadra fire.
Yeah.
I've gotten, it depends on the quality again. Like he was saying, the amount of money you spend on the stove, just a better quality is going to last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I can't give an average.
So your wife's on the comments here, and she says you can add fake logs.
Yeah, some of the stoves have a fake log that, it looks like it so you can't see the fire pot itself, but
right.
I don't know.
Oh,
then you got
okay.
to then you got to lift those up and take them out when you clean because you're vacuuming the inside of that
Yeah.
stove.
It's just a ceramic log set, like
Yeah, and it's just
or
a
concrete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just something to kind of hide that pot.
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. And diffuse the flame a little bit too, right? Because there's a flame that comes
Yeah,
off.
you
or-
don't want it really. It doesn't really touch the flame. It goes through it. So,
Oh, okay.
but it's
Pellet stove, fake logs. They don't.
why
They don't
I
go.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
why.
don't need them.
Yeah,
It's,
it's just a heat source, basically. I mean, it's not your. It's not, well, it's got some ambiance to it. I
Sure.
mean, I've been
Oh,
over to
yeah,
your
it
house
sure
around Christmas
does.
And
Oh,
had
yeah.
it running.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yep.
It's not your wood fire. So
Yeah. Yeah. As far as other safety concerns, I mean, the face of it is going to get hot. So small children have screens. Is that?
yeah, and my
No, they learn
granddaughter.
quick. They
my
learn quick.
granddaughter, yeah, she learned pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
I mean, realistically, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because there's a good fan blowing, and when you start it up, there's a small combustion fan going. And once the temperature gets up and that fan blows out, little kids, they're going to hit in the face with
Yeah.
the air. So it's
and the glass. I mean, the glass is the hottest part. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, the whole thing, I was enticed by the way that it looked with the thing operating, the little things dropping in and the fire. I mean,
Yep.
I enjoy watching it. I can only imagine if you're a little kid and fire and all
Yeah.
that. Then you got the sparks that blow around from the blower and stuff,
And again, with the amount of money you spend for the stove, you can get a thermostat, remote control thermostat for your stove, so it will actually shut off and then start up on its own.
yeah. And I still haven't done that with mine.
And
I
so-
wish I would have.
Yeah, for years I would use a torch. I would throw a handful of pellets in the pot, take my torch and just light them, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy gel starters and things like that, but the remote
you're-
controls are
Yeah.
nice.
So you were before an igniter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, way before igniter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually a little easier for me.
Yeah.
It is. A
Right.
little torch and 10
And it
seconds
works
and
every
it
time
starts.
instead
Yeah.
of sometimes that igniter doesn't work and you end up with a full pot of whatever.
Is that where you see the guy going out with the propane torch, getting it going?
Yeah. And there's a lot of safety things about them too. I mean, if the fire doesn't start, the pellets will run for so long and then it'll just shut off.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
There's no fire.
So
there's
how long did your stove last?
Which one?
Because I ran about 10 years on my first one.
I would say that too. I don't know if we ever had a stove for 10 years. We may have
Okay.
early on.
Okay. And by that time it was, getting corroded on the inside.
Yeah. Yep, and it's a
started
clean-
replacing parts and
Right.
Yeah.
That's the tough part when
Right.
something goes wrong, figuring it out. But years over time, you learn.
Right. Right.
So
Cool. And you quickly mentioned cleaning. I mean, you got to vacuum the thing out, get the ash, right? And most of them are bottom ash pit, right? Where they've got like a drawer or something that pulls out.
Yeah, I mean, I do have an ash pan.
Yep.
You have an ash pan. So generally, you're going to be, I mean, you should be in there probably every
3 days.
3 days or so.
Oh, really?
3-4 days.
That frequently. Yeah.
Well, you just want to clean that ash up in the fire pot itself. Not so much the pot, but inside the whole fire area.
I can't get to it because my wife is constantly running it.
Oh,
so it's like I'm like, Stacy, we need to actually maintain this thing.
But
you know,
I mean, it's good that she's
don't you
using
dare
it,
turn
though.
that off.
Yeah, it's good to see her using it though. I mean, we have our gas fireplace, and Tammy's always sitting in front of that thing, you know. And I mean, I couldn't imagine us not having one anymore. If we ever got a new house, if we didn't have one, we'd have to put one in, you know, because it's like that's where she sits all the time, you know.
Yeah, clearing the ash pan, it's going to depend on how your fuel.
Right, and you're going to need to shut the
and,
stove off for half hour, 45 minutes, let it
Right.
cool down. So you just go vacuum it out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Start it up again.
Very good, very good. And then as far as comparing pellet stoves, and as far as efficiencies and costs and things like that, to other types of fire management systems, whether it be a gas stove, whether it be an electric fireplace, whether it be a natural wood burning fireplace, you know, what are you talking about as far as where does it sit?
Well, right now, I don't know if we have any that are above. I know that there are, but I haven't seen too many that are above 85% right now. Or I mean, sorry, above 75%, qualifying for tax credits.
Sure,
but you know, generally they're very good. They're going to be in that at least above 60 to 80%. Efficient.
Yeah.
And comparing it to other things, there's definitely gas direct vent fireplaces that are in that 85%, 80.
Yeah.
Typically, you know, this is kind of the same range.
Yeah.
Wood burning is a little bit different because you're not controlling the fuel.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting some different wood species, some different moisture contents, things like that.
Yeah. And to quickly explain efficiency, you guys, when we're talking about efficiency, whether it be a pellet stove or a fireplace or a water heater, okay, efficiency is basically a percentage of cost put in to cost of product that you're getting out. So if you put $1 of pellets in, you're getting 70 to 75 cents worth of heat out of it, essentially.
Right.
And if you were talking about an electric fireplace, they're a lot less efficient, right? We're talking into that 50% efficiency range.
You know, I don't even know if they are doing
There's
that.
a range.
Yeah.
If they are testing it,
They don't
honestly.
probably don't want to broadcast
you're
it.
talking about one hair dryer or two.
Yeah.
But the electric the cost of these electric fireplaces, running them are pretty low.
They look cool too. I mean, they got all the color changing things with the glass rocks and stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, it's where it's going.
Yeah, really.
I never thought I would say that, but you know, we've got. I'm sure you've heard about people trying to stop gas stoves from burning. There's a lot of things going on with the government.
But the electric stuff, I mean, I see it in a lot of newer houses, you know, just because it looks cool, probably, right?
Yeah, and less expensive to install.
Yeah.
And the more realistic they start getting, the more people are just going to accept it, and that's, you know.
Doesn't require a chimney, doesn't require cleaning, doesn't
Not
require
me,
any of that.
But
yeah. I mean, and most of them, most of those things are there's remote control, and the remote control is the thermostat in it. And Kate was just mentioning that you guys actually have
we have a remote for both stoves.
Thermostat, yeah. And so you want 75 degrees. You
right
put the
here,
remote right where you are, and that's going to keep pumping pellets in
pellets
until you get 75 degrees where you are, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
And that's, you know, the comfort factor. You know what I mean? But it's not necessarily helping your efficiency, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, cool. If you had to do it all over again, Bob, I know you have the electric available to you. If you had to do it all over again, would you just go back to pellets, or would you do something?
You know,
different?
at this point in time in my life, I'd say no, because, you know, 8 tons of pellets every year, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
You know, get up in the middle of the night. Normally you don't have to because you you fill the stoves, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I just
I like
the
it.
basement.
I like a fireplace.
Yeah.
We had an insert in the fireplace for first 15 years, and then we went to pellets in the insert. So
you had a natural
yeah, we had a
masonry
concept
fireplace?
too.
Okay, and that's a wood insert in
Yep, and we cut and split wood all summer long, and
then you went to
we went to pellets. So
Yeah, cool. And you have one. Would you switch it out? I mean, you're kind of stuck and you can't because of the ventilation, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm done kind of looking at it, so it's not something I stare at and enjoy.
Yeah, well,
it's
your wife's
it's
operating
functioning.
that often.
You know, I mean, it's for heat. It looks nice, but and I guess I would do it again. It just, to me, it also depends on the where the cost is of fuel.
Yeah,
compared to
per
natural
ton.
gas or compared to wood. If you have this or you have that, there was a time when pellets were very, very popular because natural gas rose so much.
Mm-hmm.
People on LP, they will get a alternative fuel appliance quickly, or they almost need one because of the fluctuation that happens so much.
What was it? Was it 4 years ago, Tammy, where they had the LP prices went crazy? Yeah, I think it was four or 5 years ago, right? And the prices went so nuts. Whatever. We had a contract where we signed and we locked in our price for the year, so we didn't really get affected all that much because the price came back down by the time our contract came back up. But man, some of those people really got nailed with huge bills that year.
And I don't know about you, Bob, but I don't know if you'd be able to determine, but our the electric that we got last month was pretty high, and there's a lot of moving parts in that.
But you have
stove.
a furnace.
We do have a furnace.
And the pellet stove.
But we have ours is radiator heat. So, it's, we run that stove all the time, and I'm wondering how much it's drawing. I mean, you have two blowers, the auger.
Yeah.
I don't notice the
mine, I have
difference
something
with
else.
electrical from the.
Okay.
I mean, I don't pay the bills, but there's so little.
Yeah.
You're just plugging it into the outlet, so.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be less than using your electric baseboard heaters you got.
Yeah, right, because those are all
Right.
220. So we have all those set at 50 usually.
Yeah. Cool.
But there's nothing like standing in front of that fireplace before you go to bed.
Getting all nice and warm.
Yeah, and pellet stove, you get the same exact thing out of that.
Yeah.
So it's
Just
ritual.
stand in front of
it's
it and
ritual.
rotate.
Yep.
Rotate.
Exactly.
That's like at the fire pit up north or whatever, right? Cool. Well, hey, that is a lot of information about pellet stoves, and hope you guys found that interesting. Lots of good information at the Fire Factory. If you want to go on their website, they have a lot of different good information there for you guys to draw from. You could always give them a call. Again, they're located up in Port Washington, rest off of Highway 33, the Fire Factory. And if you have any chimney stuff you need done, whether it be masonry work, whether it be cleaning, whether it be inspection, the company Chimney Concepts is the guys to call. We do have their numbers on our website, thehelpfulhomeinspector.com, and information about Larry and his company as well. Thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, you can get out of here if you want, buddy.
right.
Otherwise, you're welcome to stick around. We're just
I
going
will
to have
stick
some
around.
fun stuff. All
We'll
right.
stick around and listen.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys. Special thanks to Larry Berg for coming and hanging out with us today. Really appreciate it. Bob, Gorde, we'll see you in about 5 weeks. Have you come back?
Yep.
We're talking with your son, John, about understanding your furnace and how to maintain and take care of it.
Right, and don't be afraid to go to the website for the Helpful Home Inspector and questions. You got a question, we'd be happy
Yep.
to help you in any way.
We're always here to help. Yeah.
Yep.
If you have any questions or anything like that, you can also enter them. If you're not going to make it to the show to view it on Saturday, you can enter them on our website, and we'll make sure to cover those on Saturday when we're chit-chatting. All right. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys. Remember, the better you take care of your house, the better it's going to take care of you. See you next week.